You've heard the word biodiversity a million times, right? It's everywhere. But what does it actually mean? Well, in the next few minutes, we're not just going to define it. Oh no, we're going to build a mental framework, a whole new way of thinking that'll let you see the natural world through the eyes of an ecologist. It's going to be fun. Let's do this. So when you hear that word, you probably think of a bunch of different animals and plants. And you're not wrong, but that's just scratching the surface. It's only one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. The real scientific way of looking at it is this powerful three-part tool for understanding the whole web of life on our planet, from the tiniest genes to massive landscapes. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to break down the 3 fundamental levels of life. Then, we'll see how scientists actually measure all that variety. And finally, we'll learn how to apply all this at 3 different geographic scales. I promise, by the end of this, you won't just see a forest. You'll see this complex, interconnected, living system. Okay, first things first. Let's look at those foundational layers. You see, biodiversity isn't just one flat idea. It's more like a stack of 3 concepts that build on each other, taking us from the microscopic all the way to the massive.
And here they are: genetic, species, and ecosystem diversity. The easiest way to think about this is like we're using a zoom lens. We're going to start zoomed way in, inside a single species. Then we'll pull back to look at a whole community of species, and finally, we'll zoom all the way out to see the entire environment they live in.
So let's start at that micro level, genetic diversity. This is all the hidden variety, the different genes floating around within a single species. It's like nature's secret toolkit for survival. And it's the reason no 2 of us, or any 2 tigers, or any 2 oak trees are ever exactly the same. And this slide just nails it, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. A tiny little Chihuahua and a giant Great Dane are the exact same species. How wild is that? That's genetic diversity in action. It's why we have countless types of roses and why every single zebra stripe pattern is totally unique. And here's why this is so important. This isn't just about looking different. This genetic variety is literally a species survival kit. If some new disease comes along or a pollutant gets into the water, a bigger, more diverse gene pool gives the species a much better chance that at least some individuals have the right stuff to survive, adapt, and keep the species going. Low diversity? That's a huge gamble. Okay, let's zoom out one level. Now we're at species diversity. This is probably what pops into your head when you hear biodiversity, right? It's the sheer number and variety of all the different species living together in one place, like all the critters and plants in a forest or a bustling coral reef.
But it's not just a numbers game, not just about counting who showed up. Ecologists look at 3 things. First is richness. That's the simple head count of how many different species there are. Second is abundance, how many individuals of each species you've got. And third, and this one is super important, is evenness. Think of it like a party. You could have 20 different types of people there. That's high richness. But if 95% of them are from one group and they dominate everything, it's not a very balanced or even party, is it? A healthy ecosystem is a lot like a good party. It's got evenness.
All right, time for our final, biggest zoom out, ecosystem diversity. Now we're looking at the whole landscape. We're talking about the variety of entire habitats, the deserts, the grasslands, the wetlands, the forests, all coexisting within a larger region. And wow, just look at this list. This really shows you all the different stages where life can happen. Every single one of these places, from a scorching desert to a soggy mangrove forest, has its own unique set of rules, its own challenges and opportunities. And because of that, each one fosters completely different forms of life.
And here's the connection, the big so what. The ecosystem itself directly shapes the species that live there. It makes sense, right? A super complex, layered habitat like the Western Ghats in India has tons of little nooks and crannies, so it can support an incredible variety of species. Meanwhile, a structurally simpler place, like the deserts of Rajasthan, supports fewer but highly specialized species. The stage really does determine the actors.
Okay, so we've got our 3 levels: genetic, species, ecosystem. Check. But how do scientists go from just looking at a forest to getting, hard data? How do they turn all this beautiful, chaotic variety into actual numbers? Let's check it out. First, we've got to get this distinction crystal clear. Richness is just a head count. Easy. But diversity is way more nuanced. Imagine 2 forests, Forest A and Forest B. They both have exactly 10 species of trees, so the richness is identical, right? 10 and 10. But
In Forest A, those 10 species are all pretty balanced. In Forest B, 95% of the trees are one single dominant species that's crowding everything else out. See the difference? Even though they have the same richness, Forest A is a much healthier, more diverse system.
So to capture that whole story, scientists use these different measurement tools called indices. Some just count richness, others measure that super important evenness. But get this, the coolest ones, in my opinion, are the taxonomic indices. They look at the evolutionary relationships. Think about it, a forest with a pine tree and a fern is considered more diverse than a forest with two different but closely related species of pine trees. Why? Because the pine and the fern are in completely different branches of the tree of life, representing a much bigger slice of evolutionary history. So cool. All right, we are at the final piece of our framework. We've got the levels of life, we've got the tools to measure them, but none of that means anything without context. And in ecology, context is all about scale. So let's think of this as the zoom lens on our ecologist camera. So first, we zoom all the way in for a close-up shot. This is alpha diversity. It's just the diversity you find within one single defined habitat. So the number of species in this particular pond, or that specific meadow, or one patch of coral reef. It's our local, boots-on-the-ground measurement. Okay, now we pull the zoom back a little bit. This is beta diversity. Now, this isn't about what's in a single place. It's all about the difference between two places. It's a measure of how much the list of species changes as you walk from, say, a forest into a nearby grassland. High beta diversity tells us we're finding really unique pockets of life that aren't everywhere. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Alpha diversity? That's all the cool stuff you find living within one seagrass bed. Beta diversity? That's what you get when you compare that seagrass bed to the mangrove forest next door and see how many species are different between the two. It's all about uniqueness and change. And finally, the big one. We zoom all the way out for the bird's eye view. This is gamma diversity. This is the total overall biodiversity across a huge region that has multiple different ecosystems within it. It's basically the grand total of everything. It's all the local alpha diversities combined with all the unique beta diversities between them. It's the full picture. So, let's bring it all home. We started with just a simple word, a buzzword really. And now look at what we've built, a powerful, multi-layered framework for really analyzing the biological world. What was just biodiversity is now a complete system in your mind. You've got the three levels, genetic, species, and ecosystem. You get the crucial difference between simple richness and true, even diversity. And you have the three scales, alpha, beta, and gamma, to apply that knowledge everywhere, from a single puddle to an entire continent. You officially have the lens of an ecologist. So I'm going to leave you with this challenge. The next time you think about a rainforest versus a desert, don't just say, well, one has more life. No way. Think like an ecologist. How would you compare their alpha diversity? What about their beta diversity if they were next to each other? What about their species evenness? You have the framework now. The world is out there waiting for your analysis.